Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm here with Randy Wong, I'm here with Ryan Hoge, and we're here to talk about your session today. Randy, you do a lot of our admin center work, and Ryan, you do a lot of our mobile work. So tell me about your session today.
Thanks, Stephen. It was a great session. We had a good turnout. We really wanted to focus on the admin capabilities and how to manage OneDrive across all the different endpoints. Ryan,
what are some of the new admin capabilities?
Yeah, so a couple of the things that we're most excited to bring forward are the new charts and message center on the homepage, really allowing admins to know what's happening with OneDrive, the value they're getting out of OneDrive, and what change management types of things they can look forward to. And then the new sharing page, which is really refreshed and beautiful and really easy to tell.
We've now done sliders, so we can sort of go least
Exactly.
permissive, most permissive, make it visually easier for an admin to really understand what's going on.
Looks great, very easy to use.
Yep, and the other thing that we did is I showed the end user experience, so not just what the admins are able to see and control,
Right.
but what the impact is on their employees when they enable some of these settings, both on mobile and on the web.
Yeah, and we've said, in some of the other interviews that one of the things that really is different from our competitors is where they really sort of let users sort of run wild with whatever they want to do. We really allow admins to sort of create a sphere of control which the users can work within and say, hey, you can share up to this level, you can share with these companies, can't with those others, and then within really kind of do what they want, and that's a big differentiator, so making that easier is a key piece of that.
Yeah, one of the key things is we want to strike the right balance between usability and a delightful experience for the end users while still giving IT the controls they need to protect and manage their corporate data and assets.
Right.
And we feel like we've actually struck that balance in a good way, and we're excited to show some of the new updates today.
So now you talked a little bit about the new stuff that's coming to the homepage. One of the things is Message Center, so that certainly from a visibility standpoint is great. Tell me a little bit more about the charts and graphs that we're now putting in.
And so we've been receiving a lot of feedback from customers that they want data front and center.
Right.
And they want to be able to go see the value they're getting out of OneDrive, how their users are using it. This is just scratching the surface. We're planning to bring a lot more forward in this space in terms of the data.
And it's really good to kind of remember, a year ago, we had PowerShell. There
right.
was no admin console at all. So let's talk a little bit about that journey. I know both of you have been involved pretty deeply on that.
Yeah, so about 18 months ago, we got a lot of feedback from customers, analysts, that it just wasn't working out. Like PowerShell, old SharePoint Admin Center, support.office.com. So the OneDrive Admin Centers really came about to be the one-stop shop for them to manage and see all the capabilities of OneDrive.
Now those same capabilities, they're available anywhere within the full kind of Office 365, but where we heard a lot of, hey, we have a SharePoint admin, we're really growing OneDrive, we're really moving to, we need a OneDrive admin, was to create that center.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the challenge that we saw was there might be individuals within the organization that have different responsibilities and different roles.
Right.
They might be, like you said, they're in charge of OneDrive.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to have a place for them. There could be duplication of some of this functionality, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We wanted to bring it all to at least one place, everything that's relevant for somebody that's administering OneDrive
Right.
to go to one shop for it all.
So as you guys sit in a room, and you go through, hey, we're going to do this, and this is the admin console and the functionality, as you start to kind of go, what's next? I know user voice is a big piece of this, but how do you go, this is what we want to go deeper on and amplify, this is something missing? I mean, there's only so many people, there's only so many resources, there's so many things that we can obviously add to that and bring in, and now with files on demand, we're bringing in new constraints and new features have to come in. So how do you balance that out? And I've said this several times, how do you balance the evolutionary features we have to have with the cool revolutionary stuff, and how do we balance that and really go, we've got to get into it, which I think you guys have done a great job with.
Yeah, so we look at a number of different factors. User voice is a big one. We take a lot of the customer conversations we have to heart and see what the impact of a certain feature would be relative to the cost of building it, and we work with engineers to understand what it would take to bring it forward, and then we go through a process of speccing it out and making sure that we get the right features to meet the customer demand.
So as you look forward to the next year, what are some of the things you're thinking, hey, we've got to get these in there. These are some things we need to really take a look at, or that we're going to continue to build on, because it's good to be better, much like the opening, the new graphs, it's great, but the first thing people are going to say is, so when can I double click on that and really get in deep? And that's going to, I know you've said that's something we're working on, and that's
so
coming.
A big one is around sharing reports, and they want to be able to see all the things that are shared in the organization and then revoke sharing based on that. We hear a lot lot about devices. They want to know how many mobile devices they have in the organization,
Interesting.
how many devices are syncing. And then another big one we hear is more granular control. So a lot of our settings are tenant-wide settings. They want to be able to scope it to a group or set of users, things like that.
So as we look at cause and effect, which really is the admin console at its core is all about cause and effect. Mobile, this is a really very, very different area because when we look at PC, when we look at Mac users, there's a 3-year cadence, mobile is changing at the speed of light, and the way people are using mobile devices. It's not, I'm just answering a call, doing a text. People will work off of a mobile device. They expect a full fidelity experience and ubiquity across those. Let's go from the highest level. How do you look at that at the pace of change and how people are doing things, and what do you get inspiration from in addition to the stuff our customers are telling us to drive where we need to go so we're ahead of the game, not playing catch up?
Yeah, the mobile space is exciting. I think that's part of it. The pace that things are evolving, changing, new capabilities, new form factors, both from the software side as well as the hardware side. It's always new, and so we're always pushing the envelope. This is the third Ignite that I've been to, where we've talked about mobile and shown mobile things. Every year we get deeper, we go light up new experiences, look to solve real customer problems in a mobile-first way. A recent thing that we showed off this week at Ignite was some new iOS 11 capabilities.
Yep.
Where it was announced back in the summer that we're going to be supporting the new Files app that Apple's rolling out with iOS 11. We demonstrated an early version of the OneDrive app that's supporting that. So we want to be there at the forefront when, say, Apple or Google with Android pushes out new platform capabilities, that OneDrive files are front and center and takes advantages of all those new platform capabilities from day one or close to it as possible.
Right.
And so the Files app is just the latest example. We've done stuff with iMessage extension.
There's a complete refresh coming for the look and feel of it to really bring in some of the new UI we're doing.
Yeah, and on iPad we've done things to support pen and inking input on the iPad Pro and the Pencil.
Right.
And so we are always looking to take advantage of what the platform gives us and deliver delightful experiences to our customers.
So we tend to deliver some experiences to Android first, then to iOS later, and iOS and Android. From an engineering level, how do you pick and choose? And then how do you keep those on parity at a good way, which is a tough thing to do?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. People have probably seen this where we'll ship a feature first on one platform, sometimes bring it to the next platform relatively quickly. Sometimes it might take a while.
Right.
What we generally will do is we'll look at where we are just from an engineering rhythm and cadence and backlog perspective and where we could fit something in, or if we think that there's something unique that we actually have a subset of capabilities or users on a given platform, build it, launch it, see how it's being used by customers, because we're not always right. We don't exactly know how something is going to be used or where there might be holes or other opportunities we can take advantage of. And so by the time we do kind of version 2 or rev it and incorporate some of that feedback and learning, then we'll bring it to the next platform. And we're generally pretty good, and we have a fast follow model there where we'll just let the teams kind of, our Android team will sometimes get ahead, or the iOS team will get ahead, and we'll let them keep going instead of trying to slow everybody down to kind of sim ship, because there's unique features that come out that might be only iOS specific. Files app's a good example. We're not doing that work on Android. So.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on something earlier on how fast the pace of innovation is on mobile.
Yeah, it's huge.
So we're shipping things, every month, even sometimes faster than that. So
that's
natural.
That's the other thing too, is we're shipping every single month on Android, sometimes every 2 weeks on iOS. Right. And so it's fast, it's fun, but it's also, we try to balance overwhelming users with too many new things too quickly and want to really let them bake and get some insights and better understanding of how they're being used.
So what do we do internally? And I've sat in some of these meetings, but I think it's fascinating for the folks who are not privy to this, to make sure because we are moving so fast, that we don't push something out that's going to break something or cause something to work. And I know we have a bunch of different, we have red teams and white teams and fail-safe teams, and we hack it and we send it out and we take a look and we get feedback. Walk us through some of that, and how do we learn? One of the great things that Satya said to us is, if you're going to fail fast, learn from it, move on and do that. So how are we doing that to ensure we're always doing a great experience? When we do something wrong, we learn from it quickly, we fix it, but we really try to reduce that. So walk us through some.
Yeah, sure. I could talk about it from the mobile perspective because I think it's actually pretty unique. So yeah, in addition to having internal meetings and different kind of a regular cadence or system that we go through and review things before it's kind of released out into the wild to people, we have other things in place where we'll kind of do back-end ramps so we can control if a feature's on or off and at what exposure it goes to.
And we've already done internal dog foods, and we have customers playing with things.
So we are our first customers on everything, and so we've got heavy dog fooding of internal builds that we generate daily builds on iOS and Android. We've got thousands of people internal to Microsoft that are using those, and they're updating the apps every day, every week. On Android in particular, we actually have a beta community as well that's over 30,000 users external to Microsoft, where those people get early builds and they've opted in to kind of try the latest and greatest. Occasionally there's some rough edges. We discover some things with that group.
How do they get to that if somebody wanted to be a part of that?
Yeah, so you can opt in right into the application. If you go into settings, there's a way inside the OneDrive app to opt into the beta, and then the builds just get delivered via the Google Play Store.
Perfect.
So, and you're just kind of on that faster ring of release.
Yeah.
Generally, those builds will come out a week to 2 weeks before they go to the general public. And then the other thing that we do is when we do releases from the app stores, they also have kind of a throttling mechanism there. So we'll roll out, say, to 1% before we go broader. And that's especially important on Android where there's a plethora of devices in the ecosystem.
That's true, there's not that, there isn't that standardization of hardware.
I think we've got probably over 5,000 unique devices, hardware configurations, software configurations that have our app on it. And so it's impossible for us to do testing on all of those before they go out. So what we do, roll it to a small percentage of the users. It gives us appropriate coverage. See if we're seeing any crashes, any bugs, any issues before we crank up the dial and go broader.
Cool. Randy, were you going to say something before? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, well, we also internally, we do design reviews, we do experience reviews where we walk through the details of step-by-step going through and making sure that it makes sense from a customer's perspective. Is it intuitive? Is it delightful to use? And then we have, on the web, we have first release customers where we'll roll it out to a first release and then slowly ramp it up to production.
And I know even afterwards, I've sat in the meeting where, hey, this broke. We had a report from 1 or 2 customers. What did we miss? What do we need to look at? Go back, try to fix that as quickly as possible and do that.
Yeah, and there's other things that we look at too, not even just did it break, did it have the outcome that we desired? Like if we're working on sharing and we want to improve the sharing experience, did we see higher success rates or lower?
Yeah.
And we'll fine tune things based on those learnings of seeing how the product's being used.
So we have HoloLens, we have bots, we have virtual assistants, IoT, AI. What out of all the new technologies coming, because you guys will tend to look at things sometimes before other parts of the team can, what are you looking at going, this could be an interesting play, this could be an interesting come together for OneDrive as we take a look at mobile usage, as we look at how people are administering the product, as we look at some of the new technologies that we're moving forward?
Yeah, I'll take this one first. So on the new technology front, I am kind of lucky that I get to be involved in a lot of new stuff, given we leverage our mobile apps to do a lot of these things, especially on the Windows side. So our Windows UWP app runs on not only Windows mobile devices, but Windows PCs, Xbox, and HoloLens.
And that's right, we do have the great Xbox app now.
Yes. So I actually think some of the mixed reality and augmented reality space is super interesting, especially when you look at it from an enterprise use case perspective. We've recently added support for voice commanding in the HoloLens app because we had learned that using the visual gestures wasn't always the most efficient way to interact with things. Being able to say, open this file, save this thing here, move this, much more natural when you're interacting.
And we support now the previews for 3D files.
We do.
Within that, it's part of files on demand. So we have a lot of that functionality, 3D printing, a lot of that as you go from that virtual environment into physical, you can do it from OneDrive without even leaving.
And we want to make sure that you're able to still access and render and use that content on other endpoints. At the show here, I saw some of the folks from the PowerPoint team demoing the ability to insert 3D renderings right in PowerPoint and have them animate and flip through. So I think the combination of 3D combined with some of the augmented reality, mixed reality environment stuff is going to be super interesting and a fun space to watch for the next couple of years.
I agree. Anything to add, Randy?
One of the spaces I'm excited about is just the whole AI, machine learning.
Yeah, bots,
and
that sort of
bringing
thing.
Some of the intelligence from the Microsoft Graph to OneDrive.
Interesting.
Different
Talk a
experience.
little bit about that. We haven't really dug into the Microsoft Graph and how it creates this backbone that allows everything that folks are working on that they want to make public and share, visible to other people, looks for trends, looks for graphs, and really helps to anticipate what we're doing. Talk a little bit more about that.
So from the admin perspective, it's really interesting to think about all the scenarios like I can detect if something malicious is happening or what my users are doing,
Right.
And get reporting or insights based off of that, and that helps IT be more informed and the workers to be more productive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And rather than being reactive, they're being, they're really able to be proactive and get ahead of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have this today. It's surfaced in a few experiences where we're starting to leverage it. View counts and who has viewed this document is one area. There's other things like the Discover view that we have that's on our web and our mobile applications where we'll surface relevant and interesting content that's kind of trending in your organization. If you want to know what your colleagues are working on or what your boss is reviewing or reading.
Great if you're a new employee to an org.
It's great to kind of get on board and understand, hey, these must be the important things that I need to be paying attention to. And so those are just a couple of examples, but again, I think like what Randy said, we're really early here, a lot of potential.
That's great. So if you run into somebody they're not using OneDrive, they're still using shared drives, they're using competing products, Randy, I'll start with you. What would you say to that person? What is, you know what, here's what you're missing, here's what OneDrive really has to offer. What would you say to them?
I mean, OneDrive really becomes the place to go for all of your digital content, your hub, and that includes your files within OneDrive and also team sites. And it lights up a lot of interesting scenarios like sharing, like anywhere access that people couldn't do 5-10 years ago. And OneDrive really is the enabler for that. And just all the integration points into Office 365, it just makes for a good product and really well integrated into the whole suite.
I think as part of that, now it's no longer Office 365, it's Microsoft 365, and we've shown the deeper integration of files on demand into the Windows kernel. Functionality like being able to search right from the desktop, being able to see those previewers right there through Explorer, which our competitors can't do because they sit on top of the OS, or I'm an old guy, I like to work right from the desktop. I like to use the desktop PowerPoint app. I don't want to go up to the web. I like to use email over Teams, and what's great is that flexibility with their product is really there, as you said, to be ubiquitous across all those apps and all those platforms. Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say I'm a new guy, and I think the reason to use a solution like OneDrive is you're no longer tethered to your desk. We have great mobile apps, 4.5-star rated, hundreds of millions of downloads, no longer have to VPN in to get access to those important files. They're available whenever, wherever you need them, securely and easily.
And we're reducing a lot of that, have to sign in twice and a lot of that. So a lot of that stuff, again, which we've heard back from customers, I want to use it, make it easier to get to my stuff. Another great thing that you guys did this year was now when you go into an application online, you're right into an edit mode. No more, do I want to open this, do I want to edit? We're really trying to reduce those steps for users.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we've learned over the last year is we've gotten to understand our customers a lot better. We know that there's really a magic moment when they start connecting multiple of the OneDrive applications. So if somebody's using Sync, somebody's using mobile, they have an aha moment. They're like, I get it. This is valuable to me, it's indispensable, and they come back and use the product again and again and again.
And chances are they already own it today, which is the great thing. It really is just get in and turn it on.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. This
Thanks,
was
Steve.
awesome.